Did you see that shit? MMA podcast. Hosted by mixed martial arts journalist Mike Strauss, aka Strauss21, and Chicago's number one underground comedian, Apollo Taj Mahal.
Yo, Mike.
What's up, bro?
Did you hear that shit?
What shit now?
This guy, Apollo, from the Did You See That Shit podcast is going to have to make an apology to all of Chile for farting on this fight card.
Yeah, well, you always do, right?
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm slightly motivating the fighters because they showed up.
It seems like every time the UFC has one of these fight cards, not a pay-per-view, but one of these FS1 cards that looks very underwhelming on paper, it seems like it always delivers. This one did too. I'll be the first to point out here, I didn't watch this card from front to back like I usually do because I had a concert to attend, but I have since. It was a very entertaining card from front to back. At the end of the main event, Usman took to the mic and said, Tyron, who did it better? I think Tyron did it way better.
I think it was the exact same fight as the Kobe Covington fight and the Tyron Woodley fight. I think Tyron did do it better, but...
This is what I don't understand. Why is everybody saying it was the same fight? To me, it looked nothing like the Tyron Woodley fight and nothing like the Covington fight. Why? Because he defended takedowns and he didn't get submitted, therefore he won? I don't understand. Listen, if you're going to fight Demian Maia and you plan on winning... That's how the fight's going to look.
Yeah.
So if you want to say that it was the same fight because that's how you have, if you have any other game plan against Demian Maia, you're going to lose. So that's the way the fight needs to be. I don't get it, guys.
It looked the same because that's the game plan that you have towards Demian Maia.
So that's stupid. So,
Demian Maia is not a good judge of a fighter's ability to fight. I'm sorry. You're going to get bad fights if someone is going to beat Maia.
Just because someone has the same game plan for a fighter doesn't mean the fight looked exactly the same. That's what I'm saying. I think it was a totally different fight.
I don't think it's a good judge of character. I just don't think a Maia fight's a good judge of where you're at in a division. I don't think it's a good judge. It's a matchup. That's what it is.
Yes, it's a matchup. I think it's a good judge of how well you can scheme and how well you could prepare.
And that's what Kobe Covington did. That's what
all three of them were able to do.
Yeah. And so at this point, no one should be talking crap about fighting Maia.
But we should point out that all three of them at one point have trained under American top teams. So that might have a little something to do with it too.
Very good wrestling.
Moving on, we're going to talk real quickly about the UFC Chili main card. What were some of your main takeaways besides the Usman and Maia fight?
Knockout City. Wow. These fights were great.
To me, it was Dominic Reyes. He wrecked Jared Cannonier with that very impressive flurry in round one. I said in our last episode, man, that kid is someone to keep an eye out for in the 205-pound division because he's very talented. To me, he is the shining star of UFC Chile.
Yeah, and I also said he had a great body. So that was, you know what, you're right. I'm going to say this right now. Guys who are listening to this podcast, you need to listen to this man right here. There's a reason why I work with him. Aww. You have your finger on the pulse of these young fighters. You told me to take a look at this guy. I did, and I think that he is part of that next wave of fighters in the 205 division that could possibly be a champion, man, after Daniel Cormier and John Jones are all gone. So you were right. I tweeted it out after the fight.
As I always am. Yeah, not really.
Stay humble, huh?
And then also Andrea Lee got her promotional debut. She looked pretty decent. And Suarez got a very impressive submission over Grasso. I just wanted to point those things out. And if you guys haven't figured out yet, you are listening to the Did You See That Shit Mixed Martial Arts podcast. I'm Mike Strauss, a.k.a. Strauss21. That over there is...
This is Chicago's #1 underground comic, self-proclaimed Apollo Taj Mahal, and you're listening to the fastest growing podcast out there. This is the Did You See That Shit podcast. You can hear us everywhere where your podcasting needs are and at our website at didyousee.shit.com.
As Apollo said, on all the platforms, guys, whether it's Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, it's all the same. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, just look for an orange smiley face, poop in his eyes, DYSTSP.
His name is Jeffrey.
His name is Jeffrey. If you want to get more intimate, give us a call, 708-669-4777, or shoot us an email, mike@didyousee.shit.com. Giving a shout out to Fight Fit Lifestyle. They are an awesome sporting apparel brand for men, women, children, hell, anything.
Hey, did you see their awesome commercial that they just released?
I did, yeah. It was like a minute long. Had some of the fighters that they represent. It was very cool. Fight Fit Lifestyle. It's owned and operated by Steven Ocho Peterson. He's a UFC fighter, and he has a huge fight coming up against Matt Bissett. So check him out, guys. Fight Fit Lifestyle. BellatorTheFight.com. All right, moving along here, Apollo. Some news broke. Mirko Cro Cop out of Bellator 200. This is a big blow, man. This was the main event. He was supposed to go against Roy Nelson for an alternate spot in the heavyweight Grand Prix.
I'm very sad about this. I only found out today because I was recovering from getting turned on Saturday. This
must have been Sunday, too, because yesterday was Monday.
What? Oh, wow. Okay, guys. I'm even sadder now. I missed a day. Now, I'm very sad about this because I felt that this really brought Bellator 200 really together. You had a great title fight between Gegard Mousasi, getting a title shot for the very first time against Rafael Carvalho. I'm probably butchering that. Apologize. With this fight being out of that card, it kind of really makes Bellator 200 a little light to me.
Well, to me, Bellator 200 is fucked to begin with because how in 2018 are we not getting this live?
Wait.
Yeah,
I forgot about that on top of this.
We're getting this on tape delay here in the States. Now, they are offering us the prelims live on the Bellator app. I ask you, why couldn't they do the same for the main card? Or at least, listen, here's the thing that Ariel Helwani brought up. And I thought, that's a good point. Why not even offer it to us, let's say on your website or the Paramount website, even if it was for $5 for people who wanted to do it? I would have done it.
$5, $10,
something, a buck even, whatever.
Something.
People would have done it. I mean, I don't know. In this day and age, to not bring, I mean, if it was a regular old 193, this is a 200. This should be special, And it just doesn't feel like it. But the one good thing I will say about this injury, in my opinion, the rightful main event does now get to be the main event. Rafael Carvalho going against Gegard Mousasi. So that's the silver lining, I guess you could say, in this. But yeah, it's just a bummer, man, because I was looking forward to Cro Cop Nelson, just, as everyone else.
Seemed fun.
We had a chance to speak with one of Bellator's up-and-coming stars. I think he's the next 145-pound champ, Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez. Here's our quick conversation with Mr. Sanchez. All right, I want to welcome back Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez to the show. I don't think there is another featherweight in the world that is hotter than you right now, brother.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Man, I was there firsthand at Bellator 198 to witness the standing arm triangle choke. Tell me about that, man. Is that something, Emmanuel, that you catch in training a lot?
The arm triangle in general, yes, but standing, I think it just came from the Muay Thai clinch, actually. My coach, Duke Rufus, he witnessed someone do that to somebody in kickboxing training before. When you clinch someone and you have a strong clinch and you're not afraid of, to clinch with someone, you can put them to sleep with that. And I was going to grab him to throw more knees and elbows, but when he turned his body, I just saw the opportunity to take the arm triangle, so I just snatched it up.
Man, that was crazy. And to me, it was one of the, honestly, 198 was a home run on all accounts for Bellator, but your victory in particular, I think, to me, stands out as one of the highlights of the evening, man. Just tremendous stuff. And I'm happy that people now are starting to talk about you as one of the very best in the world now. Are you finally getting your due that you feel that you should have had a long time ago?
Yes and no, I guess. I know right now they're focused more on the heavyweight tournament, and then the next card. That's the way things work,
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice, instead of asking, like, oh, is he next or does he deserve a shot, should just be like, oh, hey, yeah, this guy is next. This guy is the next in line. And, this guy is going to, that's the question, but it is what it is, All I got to do is stay focused in training, work hard, and be ready for the next one. And whoever emerges the winner, obviously that's what I want.
Now, you're referring to the fight between Pitbull and Weichel on July 14th. Have you been promised the winner, or is that just what you feel is rightfully yours next?
They haven't exactly told me anything. They just told me to stay ready, of course, in case anything happens, with this MMA game, so, which I will. But more than anything, I want them to handle their beef, man. So I really am hoping and praying they don't get hurt. I want them to handle their beef, just fight, you know what I mean? Both of them haven't fought in over a year, so it's like, just get it over with, and then get ready to defend it, whoever wins. You know what I mean? So they haven't promised me anything, but, you know, you gotta. I'm just using common sense right here. You know what I mean? There's no one else in line. There's no one as good as I'm doing done that's done.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely no one. You're right, man. You are that guy, the next challenger. Do you have a preference? Would you rather have it be Weichel again, or would you rather it be Pitbull?
I think both. You know, it's great marketability for Bellator because obviously I've never faced Pitbull, so it would be, you know, good. I think they could promote that pretty well, and then make it for an exciting fight. And a rematch with Daniel too. You know what I mean? That sells a lot in itself too, knowing that this guy weaseled and squeaked out a crap decision against me, and I left him not being able to walk to the hotel or to the airport. You know, and he's limping all left and right, all beat up and stuff. So he knows he didn't beat me. So I mean, I think it'd be a great one to get back. To take the title from him if he wins it, you know what I mean? I think it'd be great to go out and take it from him.
Yeah, that'd be something, man. So you're 27 years old. You mentioned you train at Rufus Sport. You're 17-3. I just rewatched the match that you just hinted about, the Daniel Weichel fight, just kind of thinking what could happen. And you're right, man. I don't know how they gave that fight to him, but they did. Is that the one that really burns you the most out of your 3 losses?
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not making excuses. My first one, I lost. Yeah, my first one, I was outsized, I was out wrestled, and that was at 170. So I never should have been in that fight to begin with. Mm-hmm. Second one was against Pat Curran, and I took it on short notice, and that was only my 3rd fight in Bellator. And you know what I mean? That's why I'm saying I'm like the best featherweight that there is, because what other featherweight has done what I've done? My 3rd fight in Bellator, and I'm fighting the former 2-time champion. You know.
Pat Curran is phenomenal.
I'm fighting a guy with, I'm fighting a guy with more wins in Bellator than I have professional fights at the time, you know. Curran's been at the top for a long time, and that's my 3rd fight on 2 weeks' notice against Pat Curran, you know. So no one has done what I've done who's faced what I faced. The only one who I can say is Henry Corrales, who his debut was against Daniel Strauss, and then he took a short notice against, later on, Pitbull. But other than, you know, him and I, there's no one else who has faced those monsters, you know what I mean, like Strauss, Pitbull, and Curran. You know, those 3 are like the, you know, since they faced each other, they were the face of the featherweight division in Bellator for the longest time. And now, you know, you get someone like myself coming up, it's time for, you know, a new face, a new king, a new challenger, everything. So, you know, I'm glad that I'm going to come in and take this all over. And the fact that Daniel, you know, robbed that from me for that one night, you know, I mean, that was, more than anything, I was just confused. You know, I was just thinking, like, damn, I thought I won all 3 rounds. I don't know what the judges were thinking when I heard the scorecards. And you know what? I mean, it sucks, but I'm kind of glad I lost. I didn't want to set the record for most split decisions in MMA.
Yeah, well, you've rebounded, man, like nothing else. I mean, the run that you're on is tremendous. We hinted at it a few times. You sharpen, you hone your skills at Rufus Sport with some of the very best in the world, man. You got so many bodies there. Who are some of the guys that you get to roll with on a regular basis?
Well, obviously you get the Pettis brothers, you know what I mean? Tyron, when he gets coming to town. We got a lot of guys more so up and coming right now that, you know, people haven't heard of yet, but they will. You know, whether it be Bellator or UFC, but my man Nate Jetterman, who's a star right now in LFA. Mm-hmm. Man Jordan Griffin, who's former King of the Cage champ, ROTC champ, for regional champs and other organizations. But you know, these are guys with good, great records, building themselves up, coming up. And there's another guy who stands out the most as far as professionals go. My man Rafian Stotts, who's I believe 10-1 now, something like that, 9-1 or 10-1. But he came to Rufus Sport when he was an amateur. And that was, maybe just 2-3 years ago. And now, look, he had already had his last amateur fight. Boom, just skyrocketed through his pro career. He's had the opportunity to have, he's got the phone call from the UFC a couple times. One time didn't have his passport. One time wasn't the right fight. And, and then he had a shot for the Contender Series. So we're going to get him up on there. And it's going to be great, man. I can't wait to see him in the UFC. I think that's where he deserves to be. And I got two other guys as amateurs right now who help me a lot too. Other guys as amateurs, my teammates Christian Rodriguez, Brian Batista, amazing guys grinding with me every day. And soon enough you will see them, whether it be in Combates or LFA, or which they have already fought for LFA as amateurs, but coming up, you know what I mean, at the professional ranks, you're going to see them very soon.
Awesome. And I love that you got guys like Tyron Woodley, Paul Felder, recently Jared Gordon. You got guys from all over the country now moving to train with you guys at Rufus. So I just think that's really cool, man. Real quick before I let you go, what are your thoughts on this Yair Rodriguez situation, man? Do you think he's going to end up in Bellator? And if he does, man, that'd be a crazy fight, you and him, huh?
Yeah, you know, I've trained with Yair before, you know, because he's come up to Rufus before too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, it'd be interesting. You know, I mean, I've always been cool with him, and he's always been cool with me. You know what I mean? I've always known, he's in the UFC, I'm a Bellator. We just, you know, left it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And trained with Anthony and Izzy Style Wrestling before, and trained with myself when he came up to Rufus Sport, or trained with all of us, of course. But yeah, I guess that would be pretty crazy. You know what I mean? I'm flattered, honestly, that a lot of people, you know, once the news that he got cut, a lot of people are already, you know, saying Bellator, snatch him up and match him up with me. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, damn. You know, it's I'm pretty flattered that people, you know, tune into MMA that much, and I guess tune into me too. Now that, you know, they recognize me now to say, all right, this is the perfect opponent for him. You know what I mean? I guess in his debut, but. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. You know, I mean, Dana has always been one to cut guys and then bring them back, you know, right away. Or, you know, I mean, Miguel Torres got cut for a tweet.
Yeah,
and
right.
He was brought back with an apology. You know what I mean? I think Efrain Escudero. Actually, all the guys that I'm mentioning right now, I think are just been cut have been Mexicans.
Yeah, right.
Efrain Escudero, I remember, got cut once because he was denying fights, or, you know, he was doing other things that just Dana didn't like, so he had to go out and get another win or two in the regional circuit and then come back or something like that. So I don't know. You know, maybe they can work something out and they pick him back, or maybe Bellator does snatch him up right away, and that, you know, that is something that comes up. But I think it'd be great if they did snatch him up, because a lot of people are already asking me, when is Bellator going to Mexico? And I'm like, that'd be amazing. So now that you got myself, Yair, and, you know, whoever else, you know what I mean? I know that they can build and branch to put it down there. We've been waiting, you know. They want Bellator for, you know, Latin America, South America, you know. It's been huge. You know, you got all these other organizations going after that market. I think Bellator should as well, too. You know, they haven't gone north yet for Canada, which they got a lot of fans to, and they haven't gone south yet, you know what I mean, for all the fans down there, you know, Mexico, Brazil, or, you know, in the other Southern America, like Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, you know, the other countries down there too. So I think it'd be amazing, man. I hope Bellator does, you know, because you see them there going to the UK next week or something like that
for
2 weeks.
200, yeah.
And then, you know, the Pitbull Rachel fight would be in Rome. So I mean, I think it'd be amazing if they started a branch and market fights on this side, you know, on the Americas here, on the different countries here, than in Europe.
For Mexico, what they can do is after you win the title from whoever it is, you know, whether it be Weichel or Pitbull, how about your first title defense be against Yair? Because I think he should have to fight someone before he fights you, because it's a privilege to fight you in Bellator. So he should have to go through somebody before he fights you. That's how I feel.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, I mean, you know what's crazy is even I remember when Lawrence Larkin got signed, and he got a title fight right away, which was all right. You know what I mean? That's the way they promote. And Lawrence, you know, of course, came from Strikeforce before too, so he's already got good connections with Scott and them. But I remember Dean Thomas put out a tweet, and he said it goes to show that even the best have Bellator jitters. You know, because he was right up there as the main star on that, and, you know, didn't really, I guess, from Dean's eyes, didn't really perform like I guess he thought he could. But, yeah, you know, I think they should. I think him versus another top contender that they can, you know, pull up. And, yeah, it is. I mean, that's the way I feel about any other featherweight right now in the division, too. It's you got to earn your right to fight me, because, like I said, other than Corrales, who's, you know, taking short notice fights and had, you know, tough ones as well, like myself, there's no one else who's faced guys who have held gold. How about that? Guys who have just held Bellator gold, or guys who have, been in Bellator a long time. So until any of these other guys face, a Curran, a Strauss, the Pitbull, or anyone else, then you can come up and try to get into a fight with me. Other than that, no. And I'm not being a diva about it. I'm just saying I want to test your skills. I don't want you to get murdered by me. I want to see how well you go against these guys first.
It only makes sense, man. You've been there putting the work in, so that's the way I see it too. I appreciate your time, man. It's always fun talking to you, and I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
All right. As he said, man, it's time for a new king in the Bellator featherweight division.
I really want to see that fight, and I'm a Pitbull fan. I don't want Pitbull to lose that title, but hey, he might be the guy.
Sanchez is kind of, he just wants him to sell their beef, but he says going against White would be even a little bit sweeter since he's the last guy to beat him. So we'll see. Pitbull is a guy he wants to fight too. So either way, it'll be fun, and I can't wait. So let's do our Bellator 200 main card picks here. I know we briefly talked about the fight that is no more, Krokop Nelson, but the new main event, Rafael Carvalho, Gegard Mousasi for the 185-pound title. I like Rafael Carvalho. I think that Carvalho is so fucking good, but he does not get his credit because he fights in Bellator. Now, I think Gegard Mousasi is a guy. Let me just preface this because I'm a fan of Gegard Mousasi. I always have been. I just believe that Gegard Mousasi has always had elite striking. He's never developed his takedown defense to a level where it needed to be, and therefore he hasn't evolved his overall game to, in my opinion, be elite. I think his striking blows the doors off elite. I just think his wrestling is so subpar and his takedown defense is so below that it averages that out and just makes him average. I think that he can beat 8 out of 10 guys. He could beat 100% of the guys that think they're tough on the street. But when you get up to that upper echelon of really tough guys in the UFC and Bellator, I just think he struggles. The one good thing about this fight for him, I think Carvalho will engage him on the feet because Carvalho is deadly on the feet. His ground game is very underrated, and you don't get to see it because he's fallen in love with that phase of his game. I think Carvalho has way more tools to win this fight, and I think this is going to be somewhat of a wake-up call for people to really see how good this guy is. I think Carvalho gets it done, and I think he makes it look pretty easy.
So there's two me's in this fight. There's a guy who really wants the same thing as you, Carvalho, to really get his name.
I don't want anything. That's just what I think.
So for me, because I'm a fan, such a fan, I want to see guys like Carvalho get the credit they deserve.
Right.
But I'm going to judge Gegard Mousasi based off what I saw in UFC before he left. I'm not going to judge him off of that one fight in Bellator because it was his first fight. Things happened. He looked sloppy. If I go based upon how he looked in the UFC before he left, he deserved a title shot. I think he could have been a title holder. I think he was one of the top 4 guys in the middleweight division. So I'm going to go with Mousasi on this, giving him the benefit of the doubt, thinking that he has, gotten his takedown defense to the point where he can at least keep the fight somewhat on the feet. I'm going to go with Mousasi on this one. But honestly, I think Carvalho could win easily.
And then Michael Venom Page going against David the Caveman Rickles. I think the best thing in this fight for David Rickles is going to be his walkout. They always are. David Rickles is a super tough guy, and he could beat a whole hell of a lot of guys. He has in Bellator. He's a very exciting guy to watch. I think he loses this fight, but I think he's an exciting fighter, and he'll find a way to not only make his walkout exciting as he always does, but I think he'll find a way to make this fight exciting. MVP, I think if Bellator plays their cards right, they have a fucking big star with this kid.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They really need to make that Paul Daly fight happen. MVP was on Luke Thomas's radio show, and he said that he's done. He's over the Daly fight. Whatever. If his boss tells him he's got to do it, he's got to do it. Hopefully they find a way to get that done. To me, MVP and Daly is the fight that really needs to be happening on Bellator 200. That's a travesty. But we get MVP versus Caveman Rickles. I got MVP, and probably, hopefully, I'll hope for this, a highlight reel knockout.
I think we're going to get that very highlight reel knockout that you're hoping for. I'm going to go with MVP. I think this kid is legit. I think he clowns around too much, but hey, he's getting away with it. So I think he's legit. He's going to win it, and Rickles is going to make it an exciting fight. He's not going to go down without a fight.
And then we get to Phil Davis, Linton Vassell. And when you were looking at this card to make picks, you were like, holy shit, I forgot that this was even a fight on here. This has kind of fell under the radar a little bit. You got Phil Davis, he's a former Bellator light heavyweight champion, and Linton Vassell is too. People forget. Linton Vassell is a former champ too in Bellator. He is a very talented fighter. Phil Davis, though, is just his wrestling is it is elite. It's next level. And his striking has developed enough where he's competent. He's competent enough to get in there and do what he needs to do to win the fight. So although I think Linton is probably a better fighter, I think Phil Davis will get this done because he's a better grappler.
I think Phil Davis is very smart. He is great at game planning for fighters like this. I'm going to go with Phil Davis. I've been a huge fan of his ever since his Penn State days, being one of the best wrestlers in the world, man. So Phil Davis, I think, is going to be able to keep the fight on the ground.
And then we have the curtain jerker Aaron Chalmers against Ashley Griffiths. Aaron Chalmers was a member of their Geordie Shore. Now, that was like their Jersey Shore. So a lot of guys are rooting for this guy to lose. He's actually a very talented martial artist going against a veteran Ashley Griffiths. This is interesting because this is a catch weight of 163. Very unusual. But I think that the Geordie Shore guy gets it done. Aaron Chalmers. I think he's an intriguing British fighter with a big personality, and he's something to watch. I think if he does win and he takes to the mic, we could have a cool soundbite here. So yeah, I'm gonna go Chalmers just because I don't think Griffiths is really that good of a test for him.
Man, I think Chalmers is going to play this up really well with being kind of the villain. Everybody kind of wants him to lose. He's going to be a great guy to want to see lose. I think Bellator played their cards right by giving him Griffiths. But I'm going to go with Aaron Chalmers on this. I think Bellator gave him the right matchup for this fight.
You changed your pick.
I know I did. I was going against it because anybody who was on a Shore show, I don't think they deserve to win anything.
Boom, boom, bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing.
Chalmers is the guy that was on the Shore show.
Yeah, I know. I'm picking him because you kind of swayed me in the middle of your thing. I didn't want to give you any more credit. I gave you a big head at the beginning of the podcast, okay?
So Yair Rodriguez was on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and he explained the whole release from his point of view. And, I got to say, man, this is weird because basically what he's saying is he accepted the Lamas fight. He accepted the fight with Zabib, but he wanted it in Russia. He's saying that he accepted all these fights, and then he actually accepted a fight with Lamas, but he wanted it in LA, and he wanted more money. So he's saying that he did accept these fights, but it sounds like with every fight he accepted, there was a certain caveat. It sounds like. Go back and listen to the interview, guys, because this is what it sounds like to me. It's I'll fight Lamas, but I want it to be here with this amount of money. Or I'll fight Zabit, sure, but I want it to be in Russia. So it sounded like he was agreeing to fights, but it also sounded like he was barking orders. And I think that's what ultimately got him fired.
He was trying to play hardball, and then he tried to take that hardball to public.
But in my opinion, that's how it sounded to me, was that, sure, I'll fight this guy, but this is what I want. And a part of me is like, okay, I get it, but a part of me is like, well, you sign a contract, right? Life is about leverage, right? Everything is about leverage. You don't have any. You're coming off a loss you haven't fought in a year. You don't have that leverage to bark orders. And listen, Dana White doesn't like when you're trying to play big man with him.
Oh, no. There's only one person in this world that can play big man with Dana right now.
So this might have confused a lot more people. Yair going on saying, hey, this might have confused more people. Why did they let him go? He's saying, to me, it made him more clear. Maybe he didn't want to be in the UFC ultimately. I don't know what's going on, but I do know this. If you want to play who's got a bigger dick with Dana White, you will lose that 100% of the time.
I'll tell you my theory on why he's doing what he's doing, but I got to tell you off air.
All right, we'll do that later.
Yeah.
So Ian McCall was also on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani this last week. He announced his retirement officially, just real quickly.
Super confused. I thought he was.
Well, then he went and fought for Rizin. He has retired before, but this is it officially, he says. So real quickly, just give me a word about Ian McCall. What's the thing you're going to remember most about him? To me, it's when he had to fight with Mighty Mouse and the very, very famous draw, the technical draw, and if things could have played out different, we could be talking about Ian McCall having this amazing run.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch that first Mighty Mouse fight, he beat his ass.
I thought he won. I'm going to say missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It's really sad because I think he was probably one of the best 135-pounders in the world.
He carried outside of the UFC when they didn't have the lightweight. He carried the flag for those guys.
Yeah, and then I thought he was the best 125-pounder, but he had a lot of injuries, and a lot of people don't remember. And he talked about it, about his hand and stuff like that. So just missed opportunities, but one of the greats.
Yeah, Ian McCall will be missed. And then people are making a real big deal about Greg Hardy. There's an article on ESPN right now. Basically, it's terrible if the UFC signs Greg Hardy. He, of course, is making an appearance on this season of Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. If he wins, and he wins impressively, the UFC can offer him a contract. Even if he loses, they can offer him a contract. They can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But this little piece that I read stated basically that it's not a good move for the UFC to sign Greg Hardy, and you agree.
I do not want to see this man in the UFC. I do not want to see this man fighting. I don't think it's a good look. If the Dallas Cowboys won't even touch him anymore, I don't think anybody will. And he had a decent season with the Dallas Cowboys. If the NFL will not allow this man back into the NFL, he shouldn't be in the UFC.
Okay, so Greg Hardy, it says, was found guilty of assault, and he was sentenced to 18 months probation and a 60-day jail sentence was imposed. So what I think is if the man served his sentence and he did so without incident and he is no longer on any kind of papers, think that his sentence is done and you shouldn't hold anything against him. So if he wants to pursue a fighting career, then he should be able to pursue a fighting career. That's what I think, regardless of his crime.
If he did the Ray Rice situation, I just think you're correct in everything that you're correct in. But Greg Hardy did not do the necessary steps in the NFL to where people were like, you know what, we kind of forgive you. You seem remorseful. He didn't seem remorseful after what happened. He didn't try to fix it. And if the Dallas Cowboys won't touch him, man, I don't think the UFC should. Well,
let's see. Let's see what happens. I think if he can make him money, I think it's a moot point because I think they're
people will pay to see him lose.
Yeah, that's true.
I would pay to see his ass get whooped. Put him against Curtis Blades. It'd be hilarious.
So we had a chance to catch up with one of our favorite people, Antonio McKee Sr.
Yay.
Good little conversation with him. He also tipped us off about a match he might be having. And I want to welcome back Antonio McKee to the show. One of my favorite people in the world to talk to. What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. Just enjoying all these wins we're racking up as a team. It feels good to be on the underdog part and then become the big dog. You know what I mean?
Man, I know what you mean. I'm telling you, man, you in the body shop, of course, all your guys there, your son, AJ McKee Jr., Aaron Pico, Baby Slice, and there's 100 other guys that are coming up right under him that the rest of the public doesn't even know about yet. How have you been able to just turn the body shop into one of the most respectable up-and-coming camps out there in such a short period of time?
You know, man, look, we've always been one of the top contending gyms. We had one of the best and longest winning streaks of all the gyms in Southern California combined, if you just go and you look at our roster. But, you know, I played a political part in the game and got myself in a little trouble in the beginning. My style of fighting with the confidence and cockiness that I carry, you know, it rubbed off on a lot of people the wrong way. But unfortunately, we see that was the way to be. Just my timing was off because Conor McGregor is nothing but been disrespectful to the sport, to the UFC, and to all the other people that have worked their asses off to get the sport to where it's at. So, you know, it's always been tough. My gym's always been good. We've always trained the best. It's just now we're on a bigger platform, so people with social media being the way that it is, they're able to see that. I'm able to let people know what's really going on behind closed doors. I'm able to post about you know, our guys knocking everybody out in the first round, and they say we're a bunch of boring wrestlers. You know, I'm just consistent in what I do, and the key to it is I love my guys. We're a family. There's no contracts in my gym. If you don't want to stay, leave. But no one's left. We're based on love, and that's why we're successful.
Yeah, I'm digging it, man. I'm digging everything that you guys are doing. I've been a huge fan of the body shop for a while. And, you know, even when you were fighting, man, on the regular, I was a huge fan of you. And I just wish that things could have worked out different. But regardless, you were one of the best, and you're still one of the best. Now you're just transitioning into a different role. And I think it's really fucking awesome just to see how you're excelling at that now. Everything you do, you just seem to rise to the top. I wanted to get your opinion, man. Did you see this, the title fight, Nunes and Pennington? All this talk about how Pennington said she wanted to quit and her corner talked her back in. I wanted to get your take on it because I didn't think this was that big of a deal, but apparently people are making a big deal out of this.
It's not a big deal. Look, man, I've coached Emmanuel Newton, and Emmanuel was out there in the middle of the first and second round, and he said, throw in the towel. I don't want to fight. I go, what? Throw in the towel? He says, yeah, throw in the towel. I don't want to fight anymore. I said, listen, you'll get it together in the second round. Second round, he got his ass kicked. He says, Tone, I don't want to go back out. I go, no, we're going to go back out. He ended up winning the fight. So here's a situation where it went completely the opposite. You know, people are different with personalities and different mindsets and different thoughts and different opinions, but that's what makes us so unique. But let's talk about what's the safety of the fighter. Was the fighter in danger? Was she really hurt? Or was she just tired of getting her ass whooped?
Right. And I tend to think she might have just been tired of getting her ass whooped.
I kind of agree with that. But let's say she would have landed a punch and knocked Nunes out. Mm-hmm. Then what?
Then he's a hero.
Right. So, you know what? I don't even care what people say. It's about the fighter. It's about the coach. Being able to transition from being a fighter and a coach. You got to also understand emotionally what it's like to be a fighter and a coach. So he knew she was probably tougher than what she was displaying. She probably was being outclassed, and she just wanted a way out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't buy that. I don't buy that shit. Keep fighting.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I saw it too, man. I just, a lot of my peers in the media here, they just, I don't know, they get their panties all in a ruffle, and I don't get it because what do you want to make the sport softer? That happens every day in fights. I mean, if you haven't needed to be talked off of a ledge, then you might not be a fighter. But whatever, it is what it is, man. Let's get back to what you guys are doing at the Body Shop. You got Pico, you got your son, and you got Baby Slice, kind of like the trifecta there. Pico's left hand, did you teach him that?
You know what, man? I've been with Pico since he was 5 years old, on and off, on and off. Pico is already a heavy-handed fighter. All I did was I took his wrestling and his striking, and I tweaked it a little bit for MMA, and we're just getting better on the ground as every day goes. Pico is going to be a real tough force to be reckoned with because he's got so much power in his hands. It's also stepped my game up. Me and my son, we're going to be doing a fight in September with Bellator, father and son fight. I think people will be pretty impressed with the growth in me. You know, I'm not just going to go out here and do what I used to do because I'm much more comfortable on my feet. I feel much better about fighting than I did back then. And so now it's not about just being a fighter. It's also being a mentor and a teacher of the fight. So I'm looking real forward to getting back out there.
Is there any word on who you might be fighting in September?
It doesn't matter to me who they put in front of me. I know one thing, they can't put nobody my age because I don't know how many people my age can do what I do. But, this was one of the reasons why I didn't take a lot of damage in the beginning of the sport because I knew this was going to happen. I knew there's going to be a time where people wake up, there's going to be some decent money being paid, and I'd be able to compete again at the highest levels because I haven't suffered any injuries.
No, you really haven't, man. You're 48 years old, correct?
Yeah, but I'm really 28.
Yeah, no, physically you look like you're 19. It's unbelievable. If I looked half as good as you, I'd be a different man. That's for sure.
Well, you know what, brother? A lot of it has to do with just taking good care of yourself, eating good, being happy, staying happy. I'm a happy person. I play more than all the guys in the gym. I don't believe in steroids. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink. I might have a glass of wine here or there, but for the most part, I live a pretty healthy life. And so I want to be the example of a fighter that does things the right way.
You always have been, that's for sure, man. Real quick before I let you go, I'd be hard-pressed if I didn't ask you. I mean, obviously your son and Pico, they fight in the same weight class there, and they're both, in my opinion, future champions. What are you guys going to do there? Is there maybe one going to go to a different weight class?
Yeah, AJ will probably move up to 55s. Not because he doesn't want to fight Pico or Pico's better or AJ's better, but because AJ's still growing. Mm-hmm. And he's already lean and he's making weight and he's making it right, but it's just a matter of time before he has to let his body grow. Mm-hmm. So I think by the end of this year, he'll be moving up to 55s.
Yeah, AJ's definitely going to fill out. That's the next place I was going to ask you, because he does definitely has the frame of a lightweight. So that'll be interesting, man. I can't wait to see what's in store for you and the rest of Team Body Shop. September is going to be a very interesting month, man. I appreciate your time as always.
Thanks for the interview, man. Be on the lookout for Joey Ice. I mean, he's a badass. I think people are sleeping on him.
Joey Ice.
Black Ice Davis, we're 133-0 in wrestling, and he's 4-0 now in MMA.
I'll be on.
We're gonna impress some people, and for those who don't have a place to train, that are tired of being training partners for the elite, they can come and become the elite with us
at Team Body Shop.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. You have a good day.
You too, man. Thanks, Antonio.
All right.
All right. There you go. So maybe a father-son match around September for Bellator. That'd be pretty cool.
I would love to see him back in the octagon.
He's in better shape than most 20-year-olds.
Oh yeah. Now his son possibly going up to 155.
Definitely going up to 155.
Definitely.
At the probably the beginning of the year. Yeah.
Kind of makes a lot of sense.
100% does.
He can really grow in that weight.
So UFC Fight Night 130, better known as UFC Liverpool, is happening on Sunday. One of the fantastic Sunday cards, headlined by Wonderboy Thompson and Darren Till. Let's give our main card fight picks here. Let's start with the main event, Thompson versus Till. This is interesting because this is a fight I didn't think was going to get done. No one in the media thought it was going to get done because Thompson was reported nowhere even close to being able to take the fight, health-wise. So, this kind of came from left field, but we've had a few weeks now to wrap our heads around it. Darren Till is really an up-and-comer. I had him pegged for about 2 years now, since way before the Cerrone fight. That was really when he kind of broke through, if you will, to the mainstream people. Thompson is a guy that's really been there right on the cusp for the last 4 or 5 years. He just can't get over one Tyron Woodley. Darren Till is very similar in the way that he strikes, with the way he manages distance, the way that he bounces in and out with his quick movements. I think Darren Till is going to beat Wonderboy, and I think he's going to do it because he's better. I think he's going to do it because he's younger. I think he's going to do it because his mind is where it needs to be. He has the mental makeup of a fucking warlock, and I mean that in a good way. He is just, his mental makeup is something special. And are you kidding me? This is the first time the UFC's ever been to Liverpool. There's no way in the world this kid is going to lose this fight. You are literally, people say all the time, I'm going to go, you'd have to kill me. People say that all the time. But listen, you will have to kill that kid for him to lose that fight. There's no way that means everything to him. Fighting in Liverpool, no, he's not losing. I got there until.
So this one was hard for me because I'm a huge Thompson fan. I think Wonderboy is amazing. But I think this hasn't been talked about. Till has a ground game. He does have one.
Yeah, he moved to Brazil and lived there for many years.
Exactly. And Thompson, I would say, does not.
I'd say he's got somewhat of one, but nowhere near.
It's very limited.
Yeah.
I think that's actually going to play in this fight. The fact that Till can dictate where the fight goes a lot more than Thompson can, it's going to keep Thompson on the back of his heels.
That's a good point.
And if he does not respect his ground game, he's going to get fucked up.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm going to go with Till, not because I think he's a better striker. I think he striking wise, he can compete with Thompson, but the fact that he can take it to the ground, he has a lot better of a, no offense to Woodley, but Woodley's submission game isn't respected the same way. You're more afraid about him taking you down and smashing you. But having someone take you down and be able to choke your lights out or snap your arm is a whole different kind of fear.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if Till starts to feel like he's overwhelmed on the feet, he could take it to the ground. So.
Yeah, so if Thompson doesn't, and you know what, honestly, I've never said this before. I don't think Thompson respects Till. I think he thinks Till is some young guy and he doesn't know why he's getting this fight against the UFC, because he's been talking way too much about Kobe Covington and RDA.
So in the co-main event, Neil Magny is now fighting Craig White. This was supposed to be Gunnar Nelson's spot, but now we got Neil Magny and promotional newcomer Craig White. This is a welterweight fight. I like Neil Magny. We were talking a little bit before the show. I spoke with Tony Martin a few weeks back after his fight against Nakamura, his win. He's a welterweight now, and he wants short notice fights, I guess. And he was saying he wanted this fight when Gunnar Nelson was out, but I guess the UFC didn't like it. Instead, they decided to go with this Craig White kid. I like Neil Magny. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know too much about this Craig White kid, so I'm going to go with something I do know, Neil Magny.
I'm the same exact way. I think Neil Magny is technically a really great fighter and has good cardio, and I think he's just going to lay it on him.
And then Arnold Allen going against Mads Burnell. Now, this is a featherweight fight. I'm a big fan of Mads Burnell. The kid is a fun, exciting striker. He's got some power in his hands. But I'm going to go Arnold Allen. I think that this kid has a chance to be one of the UK's, I don't want to say their next guy, like their next Bisping, but I think this guy really has a chance to carve a very good career out for himself. He's an exciting kid, and even though I think Burnell is a very skilled fighter, I think that Arnold Allen is going to get this done, and I think that Liverpool, that whole city is just going to be this whole weekend, man, that whole city is just going to be the place to be. I'm telling you.
I'm going to go with Arnold Allen on this fight, mainly because he's going to be fighting in his hometown, and I just don't see Burnell finishing the fight. So if it goes to decision, I think they're going to give it to the hometown kid. It's kind of that Bisping effect.
And then Makwan Americani is fighting Jason the Kid Knight. We spoke with Jason Knight a few months back. He's just a cool-ass dude. I think he's ready for this fight. I'm going to go Knight here, but listen, this Makwan Americani, he is no joke. Jason Knight is an underdog in this, pretty sizable, around 200 last time I checked. Maybe my heart does want this for Jason Knight because I think he's just a really talented guy, and he just, he's fell in a little hard times here the last couple of years, but I think he's going to get it figured out, and I think it's going to start here this weekend with Makani. So I like Jason Knight.
I'm going with Jason Knight on this fight. I think that this kid is going to – I think Jason Knight is going to make the necessary steps to be a top fighter. So I think this is going to be a huge test, and we'll really know where he's at.
And then Manny Bermudez putting his perfect record against Davey Grant in a nice bantamweight fight. This kid, Manny Bermudez, is the real deal, man. I don't know if he is ready for the upper echelon of bantamweight yet, but I think in 3 or 4 fights, maybe he will be. I like Bermudez to stay unbeaten against Davey Grant, but this should be a cool – listen, the 135-pounders always deliver. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Manny Bermudez. I think he's definitely able – I don't think he's ready for the top guys, but he's definitely ready for Grant. I think this is going to be a tough fight for him, but it's going to be a good fight.
Then the curtain jerker on a 6-fight main card, Eric Spicely against Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart, if you remember the last time they were in the UK, he called out Darren Till.
And
he got Eric Spicely. So, yeah.
Who's going to
tells you what they think of him. Till gets the main event. Stewart gets the curtain jerker. So it kind of tells you their place, their pecking order there, right?
Yeah.
I like Stewart to win. Spicely, I just don't. Spicely's a dangerous guy. He won his last fight in a very impressive way. I didn't think he would. I just think Darren Stewart is a little bit better than Spicely at where they are right now. And I don't like Stewart at 185. I think he should go back to 170. But I think he gets it done.
I was very shocked that Stewart was even going to be at 185 when I saw this. I'm going to go with Stewart. I think he's going to win. I feel bad because it's like, hey, I really want a steak, and then you end up at McDonald's. That's kind of how it felt like when he made that call out. So
yeah.
Nothing against Spicely, but it's just he asked for Darren Till.
Who are you picking?
I'm going with Stewart.
So we mentioned American Top Team a little bit earlier on. One of their coaches, Din Thomas, he's a good friend of the show. We had a chance to speak with him a few days ago just to catch up and talk about, the Pennington corner. I wanted to get his opinion on that. So here's our conversation with Din Thomas. Want to welcome Din Thomas to the show. One of my favorite people to talk to, and always opinionated, and always appreciate him taking some time to talk to me. What's going on, man?
Hey, everything's good, man. Just enjoying life, trying to live it to the fullest.
For sure. That's all you can do, right? That's all you can do, one day at a time.
That's it, man. Just smile and be happy.
So it's a good time to catch up with you, man. A lot of things going on. Of course, the whole Pennington situation. I wanted to kind of pick your brain on that. Personally, real quick, I'll just state where I'm coming from. I think that a lot of my colleagues here in the media blew this way out of proportion. It's my opinion that I think that happens a lot, and it just so happened that the camera caught it, so it was a big deal. But what do you think?
Yeah, you just said it. There's a lot of different angles to look at this thing, but you said it best right there. This thing happens a lot, and not necessarily like a verbal, I want to be out, but there's oftentimes where fighters come back and you can just see it in their face where they don't want to go back out there and they don't want to fight, And everybody's like, oh, it's the corner's job to protect him. Well, it's actually the ref's job to protect the fighter. Really, it's the corner's job to make sure that fighter is doing what they're supposed to do. And sometimes that requires motivation. And that's what her corner did. They tried to motivate her. I mean, if we stopped the fight every time a fighter said they didn't want to go out and fight, I mean, it would just be there would be no fights. People, they wouldn't even make it past the weight cut. I mean, in every weight cut, the fighter's like, this is it. I'm never doing this again. I want to stop now. And it's our job to say, no, man, listen, we worked too hard for this. Let's get out there. You're better than this. You can do this. That's part of the job. And like you said, I thought it was blown way out of proportion. I think there's a certain sexism element to that as well, too, to be honest with you.
Do you think so? Because that's my co-host for the podcast. He's not here right now, but he brought that up too, that since it was a woman that, you know, that people tend to look at it a little bit differently. You think that played a factor in it?
Yeah, I do think it did. And I think subconsciously, like, that's what we saw. Like, when we saw that with our eyes and this woman just kind of get beat down, I mean, it comes, like, our brains was like, oh, my goodness, what's going on here? How could they allow this woman to go back out there and take this beating? I really do believe there's a certain element of that. We might not want to admit to it, but I believe that there is an element of that we kind of felt sorry for this woman taking this beating when she said she didn't want to go back out there. And, you know, because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, think of it, if it was Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier and one of them went back to the corner and said, nah, man, I'm done, we would all be looking at them like, you're a sissy, you know, you're weak, you're soft. And then if the corner said, nah, man, you need to suck it up, that would be accepted. But the fact that it was a girl, I think it was just harder for us to accept and wrap our minds around that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to that, man. And, you know, one thing that I wanted to talk with you about today, too, was you stated your opinion or you were giving kind of just your idea on something. And then one of the media members kind of just said that basically what you were saying was a little overstated, let's say. And you basically retaliated saying, hey, how does it feel? But I don't understand why some of my colleagues are so quick to jump down fighters and coaches, and you guys are just like anybody else. I mean, your opinion matters just as much as mine or anybody, so why can't you have an opinion without being attacked?
You know what? That's funny that you say that. I don't understand it either. That's why, like, my next tweet was, you know, I could say, you know, it's my mother's birthday, like, happy birthday, Mom, you're the greatest woman I've ever known, and then people would argue with me about that. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like the one thing in this world that you're supposed to be entitled to. Like, I'm a guy who's never entitled to anything, but the one thing in the world that you're supposed to be entitled to is your own opinion. And with social media now, it's almost like you can't have an opinion without people calling you names and telling you that you are wrong and so on and so. It's my opinion. So how can you say I'm wrong about my opinion?
Yeah, that's what I didn't quite understand that, but yeah, I know who that person is too. So let's just say we're not the greatest fans of each other. But moving along here, one thing that interests me, man, is I'm always fascinated with Twitter polls, and you seem to run quite a few very good ones. One of the ones I saw the other day was the worst ending for a TV show. You had The Sopranos, Lost, and Dexter. I voted for Dexter, but I was curious. Do you remember what won?
I think it was, you know what? I can't remember. See, we do that. I do that on my radio show in West Palm, ESPN West Palm, and I can't remember what the results were for that because we do them every day.
What would you pick of the three?
I would have to say Lost. And I think the reason why was because I was such a fan of Dexter, I won't allow myself to say that the ending sucked. Yes, I was such a fan of Dexter. That was one of my all-time favorite shows, and he's one of my all-time favorite characters. But Lost, I liked Lost, but the fact that it ended so weird the way it did, I can just say, you know what, it's whatever.
Yeah, Lost was a weird one. I was a huge fan of Dexter, too. The thing that bothered me about Dexter is, like, the last season, it started to get a little weird for me because he's got that woman that he's got her all, he's got her all taped up, he's ready to go, and then all of a sudden he untapes her and has sex with her. I'm like, wait a second, that's not Dexter.
Yeah, that's kind of jumping the shark, ain't it?
Yeah, right. So that's when I kind of started to be like, what's going on here? But yeah, there's rumors that they might bring that back, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I don't know if it's probably fake news, but I saw it somewhere that I guess they're in talks. They don't know what network, but they're doing all these remakes. It could very realistically come back.
I'd love to see that. I mean, that was an all-time great show.
It was. He was the perfect character for it too.
Yeah. He was cold, but I mean, and he had a good character arc as well. Like, he started off, he was kind of fun-loving, but then he just kind of became dark, but I thought it was great.
Yeah, it really was. It was definitely an exploration of humanity. So let's talk a little bit about ATT, man. You guys are just like a factory, man. You're just pumping out amazing fighters. The thing that really impressed me, man, about you guys and the coaching staff is that you got guys like Tony Martin, very good, respectable fighters, but they come there and you're just able to take them to the next level. What is it about you guys that you can take already fantastic fighters and just take them to that next step?
I think it's our experience. Between like me and Mike Brown, Mike Brown is an old school fighter who's been through it all. I'm an old school fighter who's been through it all. And we influence fighters heavily. And the funny thing is that me and Mike Brown don't even work together all that often, and I wish we did. We just don't have time because we work with different fighters. But we influence them with our experience, and I think they feel that, they sense that. And plus, me and Mike Brown, we care about the fighters too. So like, and I'm just speaking. The reason why I bring Mike Brown in because we just had like an hour-long conversation. But we have a tremendous staff between Conan Silveira. Conan Silveira is an old school fighter with an old school mentality, and he kind of handles a lot of the Brazilian guys and gives them his flavor when it comes to that. But with just our experience, we have an old school mentality with our experience that I don't think a lot of other camps have.
Yeah, you guys definitely do. I mean, every year it's ATT, AKA, and Jackson's consistently just the top three. Of course, there's so many other fantastic ones too. No, you don't have to throw shade on those ones. Well, man, I know that you're really, really popular on social media. I follow you. You're one of my favorite follows, and that's at Din Thomas on Instagram, and then at Din Thomas on Twitter as well. The floor is yours, man, if you'd like to shout out anything you'd like to.
Well, yeah, absolutely, man. So not a lot of people know this about me, but now that I don't actively compete as a fighter, what my passion is now is I'm in the entertainment industry, so I'm doing a lot of comedy, improv, and also some acting. So I have a short film coming out next week called The Sandbox Memories. So I want to make sure everybody is aware of that and they pick that up. We'll probably just put it out on YouTube for free. So once that drops, if you get a minute, please spend spend 20 minutes to watch that. I'd appreciate that for everybody. It's called The Sandbox Memories, and I hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely. Did you direct it?
No, I starred in it.
Oh, you starred in it. Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little taste of what it's about?
Well, I don't want to give too much away because it's kind of one of them. It has a little twist to it, but
okay.
It's about two guys that meet in the bar, and they have history that is unbeknownst to them.
Gotcha. I'll be there, man. I'll be there for it, and I'll definitely spread the word.
Man, I'd appreciate that, man, for sure.
Of course. I appreciate your time, Din, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You too. Take care, man.
All right, bye.
All right. So, yeah, pretty much this shit happens a lot, guys. Just so happened the camera caught it. It's no big deal. This is the last we're going to talk about it. We're going to put it to bed. And, it's always cool catching up with Din. So, real quick, Apollo here. Something that just really caught me off guard. UFC 225, they moved Alistair Overeem and Curtis Blades to headline the prelims. Okay, you figure fine. The reason they gave is because they needed to make room for Megan Anderson and Holly Holm. My question would be, why did you leave Andrei Arlovski and Taya Tuivasa on the main card and bump this? You could have moved that to headline the prelims. And I know that Alistair Overeem was on the MMA Hour with Ariel, and I know that the argument is more people, 5 times more people see the prelims. I get that. I understand.
Yeah.
And unless you have it in your contract that says you get pay-per-view revenue, you really don't care about being on it. I understand that, but you'd be kidding yourself if there's a certain prestige that goes with being a pay-per-view fighter. There is, and it just doesn't make sense to move Blades, a hometown kid, and Overeem to headline the prelims when you're keeping Arlovski and Tuivasa on the card. Now, I know Arlovski has ties to Chicago too, but Curtis Blades is the young, up-and-coming heavyweight that this is his first rodeo. He should get that pay-per-view main card spot. I don't get this, man.
I agree with you, but I'm going to play a little weird devil's advocate. Can I make a case that Andrei Arlovski is a bigger draw pay-per-view wise than Alistair Overeem? Because that's the name right now.
Overeem in Chicago, he might be.
I'm just talking about pay-per-view wise. If you go out to people
worldwide,
who do you know more, Andrei Arlovski or Alistair Overeem?
I think it would be probably Overeem worldwide.
But in the U.S., I think Andre Arlovski, because Andre Arlovski had movies.
I definitely know in Chicagoland, it's Orlovsky.
Yeah.
But then if you make that argument about Blades, I mean, then that changes things.
But that argument, I'm talking about like just common fan.
Yeah.
Common fan. So I agree with you because I'm like, you know what? As a fan, someone who knows the sport, I don't want to see Arlovski and Tai Tuivasa in my pay-per-view. No offense to them. They're great fighters. I think Andre Arlovski and Curtis Blades has more title implications. But I think Andre Arlovski is, business-wise and name-wise, a bigger draw than Alistair Overeem and Curtis Blades. I think he's a bigger name. Not a better fighter, bigger name. So in the pay-per-view, if you're trying to sell pay-per-view around the United States, you want a name.
I think I'm going to shit blood tonight.